Good morning or good afternoon for some, and welcome to Industry Chats by Affixify. I am Jasmine Saliga. I'm your host and founder of Affixify, and I am so excited. I say I'm excited every week, but this is a true, I told him it's an honor, and he said, don't say that, but it really is an honor to have our guest, Alan Young, on today from Infor. So, Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jasmine. It's great to be here. And it's not an honor, just nice to see you.
It's nice to see you. Alan is so, we'll go into everything and do an intro, but for those that don't know, when Affixify was pre-launch, so before we even started, I reached out to you on LinkedIn and I asked if you would hear about my new product, and you so kindly did, which at that time it was harder to get people to listen, as many startups experience. And I remember very vividly your support of just like of Affixify and what we were trying to do. And I don't know if you know this, but you actually told me like, hey, if you guys do this, keep a laser focus on your vision and don't waver. And I still
That's
remember
right.
your words to this day. So thank you, Alan, for that. And now I get to have you on the show, which just comes full circle. So welcome.
That's awesome. And it's so true, right? It's in any business, large or small, you have to keep your eye on the prize and what makes you special.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I was able to help. And as you know, Infor now works with Affixify, which we're very happy to be working with you, and it's turning out great.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, we're pumped to have Infor on, and I know Stephanie works so well with your team, and I'm a little jealous
Yep.
I don't get to do the day to day like she does. But yeah, so okay, Alan, I feel like especially for the guest joining, you really need no introduction in hospitality. However, let's still go for it. I ask every guest to introduce themselves and talk to us
Sure.
about your work at Infor because I mean, you've been business owner, puzzle partners, and here you
Mhm.
are doing, VP work over at Infor. So tell us a little bit about you, what you're up to, all the good stuff before we dive in.
Well, let's just say my job is multifaceted. So I joined Infor. It'll be a year in 2 years. Sorry, in this coming June in high tech. And I joined Infor. The first kind of gig was to help them right the ship as it was related to
Mm.
messaging and product positioning, et cetera, et cetera. But that's unfolded into more things, which
Yeah.
include product strategy and solution consulting and some other things within the entire umbrella. So I have an amazing team that I work with that support me. But we really now are focusing on innovation, product innovation primarily, looking at the use of agentic AI within our world, and that is a hot topic for everyone. But it really boils down to if your customers aren't happy,
Mm.
it's all for naught. So we work very closely with our customer success managers and support and everyone that makes Infor who we are, which is a highly focused group of people that work diligently to make sure that our hospitality customers are well taken care of. But Infor as a whole is a massive company.
Yeah.
We're a small entity within the larger Infor, but we're happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. You guys are doing amazing things. I mean, Infor's, that's it's just like a household name if you're in hospitality. So very cool to see you kind of waving their flag. And I can only imagine the value that you're adding. I also think it's cool. I didn't realize that. So it started in, with one project and here you are doing so
Yeah.
much more, which is kind of how those open doors work.
Yeah, it's like most things, be careful what you wish for. And so I started doing one thing and then I just got layered with more things to do. But like I would never be able to do it with if it were not for the people that are helping me get
Yeah.
the job done, right? And we have a passionate group of people all over
Mhm.
the planet. We have development teams in Bangalore and
Wow.
Tunisia and Prague and support people all over the planet. So it's really interesting, a lot of fun.
And you get to be in person, right? Because I think in one of our conversations, you had just come home from Tunisia. So are you getting
I
to
have.
go all over and visit with these teams, it sounds like?
Yeah, I'm actually heading back to Tunisia again next week. So it's great, right? One of the things that is most amazing about our business, even though we're in technology, and is the fact
Mhm.
that we get to go to amazing places and
Yes.
meet the
Yeah.
people we work with.
Yeah.
Uh, Having been in the hospitality industry for a long, long time, I've been lucky not only to travel to amazing places, but to live in pretty cool places as well. So But yes, that's definitely one of the perks. As long
It
as you
is.
leave yourself enough time on the beginning and end of the
Yeah.
trips, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to do a little bit of fun, but it is,
For sure.
I always say we get very spoiled in this industry. Uh,
Very
my
much so.
husband's in the medical space, so he like, conferences are very just cut and dry, nowhere fancy,
Right.
no beautiful locations. And I'm like, yeah, we're very blessed here, but no, that sounds amazing. And
For sure.
so we're going to talk about, the guest experience today. I'm very excited for a couple of reasons. Number one is that I want to hear your point of view, on the decline. And number two is I think people tiptoe a little bit around this topic, but we are going to even talk about where tech is helpful in this experience, where it gets in the way,
Mhm.
all of that. So really, really thrilled. And if you guys are watching live, feel free to, ask questions along the way. We will do our best to get to those questions. But Alan, first of all, before we even jump in, kind of tell me a little bit about your passion behind this topic, because we do let our guests choose the topic. So when we were talking through pre-show, like what really came to mind and made you want to talk about this decline? Because I love it, but
Well, when I first started my career out, I was 19 years old. I didn't go to, I think I went to university for 3 months. I had too much fun. I watched too much hockey. I drank too much beer. I did all the right things that you're supposed to do as a kid, but I did not study. So I got a job very quickly within Four Seasons Hotels.
oh yeah.
And Four Seasons Hotels is one of the brands on the planet that focuses on guest service as its primary
Mm,
focus.
right.
And kind of being built throughout those primary years of my education process within the hospitality industry, it's always been very, very near and dear to my heart.
Mm,
And what I've seen, and I hate to say post pandemic, but it really is kind of post pandemic. What I've seen in our market is a decline of guest service. I did
mm,
a quick little poll. I drove around my little town of Barrie, Ontario, which is just about an hour north of Toronto, and I talked to every single front desk operator. We have 11 hotels in our
mm,
city, and I asked them what it was like to be a front desk agent. I did this a few years ago, and their main complaint was dealing
mm,
with people that were a challenge. And
mm.
I think what that does is it precipitates a decline in service. If you're always kind of facing challenges rather than people that are open to being embraced with service, then that's a challenge, and it creates this dynamic where it becomes very impersonal.
Mm.
And so I think we've gotten to a point where the traveling public demands service, but the deliverers of service have a challenge in delivering it because of the environment that they're sitting
Yeah,
in. Um,
right.
Technology surrounds them. They've got so many things to do. They're constantly staring at screens. They're not talking to guests. Even in restaurants now, they're looking at,
Hmm.
iPads or whatever, importing orders. There's just this lack of
Yeah,
connection between front desk or frontline employees and
absolutely.
our guests, and it's really it's painful to watch. At least it is for
Mm,
me, because
mhm.
it's the essence of our industry.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we say this a lot because, being so heavily immersed in hospitality tech, it's still important to remember most of the people in our industry did not get into the industry for technology. They got into it for the hospitality side of it, right?
Mhm.
They have a love of it, a gifting for it. But then we put so much tech in front of them, which you and I are both tech people. I mean, it's like a balance, but that it really steers them away from actually being able to provide excellent guest experience in a way. Not always, sometimes it enhances, but
Yep. Yeah, it's from my perspective, the minute and I was very early on in tech, and the days of Fidelio way back when,
yeah.
where people didn't even look up from the computer screen at the front desk because they were immersed in it. And I think what we've done with technology is we've created a lot of back end awareness. And I mean
Yeah.
that from a data perspective, right? We are
Mm,
constantly consuming data as
mhm.
hoteliers and as hotel companies. And so trying to get that information is of paramount concern. And unfortunately, the way that we get that information is either online by tracking people when they visit our websites or how they book and when they book, or on property about what the engagement model looks like.
Yeah.
What do they need? What upsell capacity do they have? Can we sell them more stuff?
Yeah.
And so by doing all of this and creating all of this data, what we do is we kind of impress upon the people that are in front of the guests to ensure that they gather this information. And the only way to get that information into a system is to input it, usually by typing on a keyboard.
Yeah.
And so that has really done a number on our industry. We have these huge kind of handcuffs on, and now, even though we have the capability to go ahead and enforce people to understand that maybe Alan Young is a repeat guest somewhere.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we put it in a notes field somewhere in the property management systems, and nobody looks there.
Yeah.
They just want to get somebody checked in and get to the next guest. So that connection that technology is trying to drive sometimes gets missed. So technology is definitely not a panacea related to guest service. Technology should be an empowerment vehicle, but we've kind of gotten to a point where it is kind of restrictive.
Absolutely. Well, and I think the other side of that too is then the teams have to be trained so much on all of the different tools that you then, I mean, the overwhelm of learning the different tools and the, what's needed and what's required. It's just a lot. So I think if I'm hearing you correctly, if we're talking about like what's driving the decline, do you think it's just we've overcomplicated things in the name of whether better data or we're trying to create better experience, but really we just need to put our heads up and be engaging as humans? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think we have overcomplicated it because there are so many systems that integrate in order to get to that final node of data that somebody in the head office feels is important. But I also feel that we haven't necessarily progressed with the times as effectively as we should. If you look at people that are rising to the occasion and becoming employed in the hospitality industry today, the likelihood of them having the capability to understand a complex system through a keyboard and a mouse and a screen is less than it would have been 10 years ago. And unfortunately, the systems haven't progressed along a way that really where today's employee can embrace them. I took a walk with my wife the other morning down by the lake, and we were talking as we do. And there were 4 people coming at us, probably late teens, early 20s. A gathering, but all 4 of them were looking at their phone as they were walking, and none of them were talking to each other. Maybe they were texting with each other. I don't know. But what became very evident is this is how they gather data. And so if they gather data in a way that is fairly linear, point to point, then we've got to be creating products that will enable a different demographic of individuals, will enable them to do their jobs incredibly well. Absolutely. So unfortunately, as we build out products, we haven't built them out in such a fashion to progress along the path of innovation for today's the new hotel employee. And so that's hugely important, and we have to uncomplicate all of this stuff because it is highly complicated.
It's highly complicated, and I think I'm curious in your experience. So when you went to those 11 hotels, which by the way is very interesting, I love that you did that. Did you find that they had any positives? Like obviously, you said the frustrations, but what were they leaning towards? Of like what do they enjoy, or what makes it? What keeps them coming back every day?
Well, I think there are 2 types of people, right? There are people that join hospitality to get a paycheck, and there are people that join hospitality as a passion.
Great point.
And so those people that joined it as a passion see through the technology and understand that it really is about that personal relationship with the guest. Those that want the other so yeah, whatever. They'll check
Yeah.
somebody in and say you're in room 104 when they should have been on a high floor or something. But I think that really is the differentiator.
Yeah.
When I talk to a lot of people in the industry about what got them here, it really starts with that engagement model. And now what we have is we have a whole group of people that engage through a device.
Yeah.
And so it's different, right? You're not going to have somebody walk up to the front desk looking at their phone and the front desk agents looking at their phone. That's not going to happen. But you have to be able to go ahead and at least engage effectively in the way that people want to be engaged. So it is a different world. But yes, there were many people that were happy with their jobs. But there is kind of a change in how people treat each other.
100%.
And so that does affect, guest service as a whole. It doesn't matter whether you're sitting in a Kohl's or whether you're in a McDonald's or whether you're in a Four Seasons. If both parties aren't respecting each other, then it's a challenge to deliver great service.
Well, and I mean, I think the device topics you mentioned on this walk, and you guys see it, like that is such a shift. I have young kids right now, but even at 8 years old, my oldest son is asking, when do I get a phone? And I'm thinking, I told him, you don't get a phone. You're 8, and he's like, well, he already has friends. I mean, in the second going into third grade that have phones that want to exchange numbers. And I'm thinking, gosh, we really have, it's very different as a society because my kids will never grow up not knowing technology and what that's like and that expectation where, whereas like that is not how it used to be. So I think that guest expectation follows that. And it's an interesting thing. I had one of our users who's an independent hotel actually in Canada, lovely. And I was talking with her about some of our various categories of technology, and the topic of like guest apps and AI guest communication came up, and respect her. She absolutely, nope, we're not doing that. We are very personal and we'll never replace, our staff talking to our guests. And she can, because she's a smaller operation. But you could just see like, nope, that is not how we do it. So I think there's still some of us holding on, to that method. But you're right. I think in general, our guests, our society has just changed. We're just so tech forward. We have to adapt.
So I did a little bit of homework before this. So let me read to you. Let me see if I can pull this over. I want to read to you something that I'll have to stare off the camera. So I was doing a little research this morning, looking at articles that people had posted over the last day. So the first one is the single biggest reason hotel AI fails has nothing to do with AI. The second one is how hotels can use AI to turn website content into direct bookings. The third one is why AI needs to sit beside your PMS and not within it. Fourth is most hoteliers use AI daily, but guest experience still needs a human touch. And then finally, a simple checklist to make your hotel AI friendly. But one of these things is not like the other. And the last one is before mass layoffs, Meta reassigned 7,000 workers to focus on AI. So what Meta did was they're going to lay off 8,000 workers. But of the workers that are left, they're going to reassign 7,000 of them to focus on AI.
Oh my God.
So imagine being a hotel worker and you're looking at this every single day and you're seeing all the news about AI. You're seeing all the news about bigger companies that are trying to downsize. And then you also hear that your ownership group is telling your management company that they want to decrease costs by 10%. They want to scrub out labor costs by 10% because they see Meta's doing it. So why can't a hotel company do it? Yeah. So this is also going to affect the psyche of frontline employees, right?
Absolutely.
As we continue to talk about this and pontificate about it is probably more apropos. Then we have an issue as an industry where we're all driving towards that same goal, which is trying to make things better, faster, cheaper, hopefully make hotel companies some more money.
Yep.
But we're also losing sight of the essence of why we're doing this. And that's about the person that works for the hotel company and the guest. Right?
Yes.
And Infor is part of that as well. Don't get me wrong. We're doing some pretty funky things that will help our hoteliers manage their business more effectively, but we're also building software that will help front desk employees stare the
Yes.
guest in the face and talk to them versus look at a screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a crazy time, and being a hotel employee with ownership looking to downsize, I think that would be a little scary.
I think you're right. I mean, I think it is scary. And it's not just industry news. I mean, this is worldwide. Everywhere you look,
Mhm.
the talk of AI and layoffs and I mean everything. And so it's an interesting time, I think, to really evaluate what would work. And we talk about this sometimes. Like we use AI at Affixify, we use Claude
Mhm.
because we're tiny. And so we use it for efficiencies and things that I would pay like an assistant to do. Right.
Yeah.
So there's that side of it so that we can hopefully provide better service to our customers. But also, I'm curious what your thoughts are like as we move into what could this look like if done well? So, if I'm a hotel owner and I'm thinking, I want good tech, right? I want to bring in the Infors and I want good
Mhm.
technology. I want to make that investment, but I don't want to invest to a level that my staff and my team feel like, they're at risk. And so if we really want to bring good guest service, I think you said it as like to the forefront. What would that look like? Do you have an ideal kind of in your mind of what the balance could be?
Yeah, I think ultimately technology needs to take a back seat. And the only way
Okay.
it takes a back seat is if we start looking at how we measure our business differently.
Mm.
Everybody comes through hotel school. There are KPIs, they work on them. There's standard KPIs, but I think we have to look at those KPIs differently. What really matters?
Yeah.
And I think the agentic world, which is coming up very fast and
Mm.
furiously, will help us with how we measure and what we measure differently.
Right.
So if you take a look at all of the products that we build, right? Property management theoretically used to
Mm.
be the beating heart of everything and everything
Yeah.
connected to the PMS. And then you have other primary systems such as POS, sales and catering, the
Mhm.
list goes on. And then you have secondary and tertiary systems that all try to complement each other and do something for the
Mm.
guest.
Yeah.
What that does is create a whole bunch of noise, and that noise
Mhm.
impacts the buying decision.
Right.
So what we need to do is we need to understand that the communications layer, or the what we call the orchestration layer,
Right.
is done very seamlessly, and the products that used to be number one, got to
Yeah.
have it, got to run with it, become more of an engine, and
Yeah.
they supply the frontline employee with the data that they need at the time that they need it.
Yes.
So rather than saying I need to fill out all these different areas of a screen for a
Yeah.
check-in, now we go ahead and we do it because we talk to the guest and we recognize the fact that the guest's name is Alan Young, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden that guest folio pulls up and all of the data's there, right? So I think
Yeah.
uh, the way that I look at it is, if we can go ahead and run all of these primary systems as a layer for information gathering as an engine, we'll then
Mm.
have a better chance of applying
Mm.
the logic to the frontline employees, where they can just kind of use the information in an oral format like I'm
Yeah.
doing now, where they can go ahead and start communicating with the guest effectively without having to stare at all the systems that surround them, and still be able to deliver all the data that
Mm.
the hotel company needs in order to make those micro and macro decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. We did and we're getting some comments, so we're going to switch to those in
Oh,
just a second. But we definitely did a video last week where Stephanie and I were asked, I guess like National Hospitality Day is coming up, or
yeah.
it did happen. And so we both kind of touch on the same thing without knowing it, where it's like hospitality really at the end of the day comes down to like a feeling and how you made somebody feel. And so I
Mhm.
think to your point, if tech can enhance that, that's amazing. If it detracts from that, that's not. I mean, I think that's kind of how it goes, right? Like we're not going to have someone into our home and be staring at a screen. That's not
Yeah.
how we make somebody feel at home. And so I think to your point, now I also think there's going to be more vendors than ever. I mean, we see it even in the 23 months since we launched Affixify, the amount of vendor interest, I mean, and vendors I have never heard of, which is great, right? But it's just like constant. We're
Mhm.
going to see that, especially with, tech development getting cheaper. But it's like, how does the hotelier then navigate that? So I think what you're saying is keeping the
Yeah.
guest front of mind, keeping that personal touch front of mind. And then if there's an enhancement, great. but don't overcomplicate it.
Well, yeah, and you're right. There's going to be so much, so many companies that can utilize artificial intelligence
Yeah.
from a development perspective, using agents to develop things
Mm.
that what used to take months could take weeks. Now, let me preface that all of this needs 100% data accuracy.
Yeah.
None of this works if we apply an agentic kind of environment or platform and we keep on delivering data to it that is not 100% accurate.
Great point.
The minute AI makes a mistake, because yes, it's hyped, but there's also the contradiction side that says, hey, listen, it has a whole bunch of issues. It has, it sees things that aren't there. It does some pretty funky things, but at the same time, if you're not delivering accurate data, you're going to be completely hosed. But so that to me is if you turn your products into engines and the engines fulfill the need of the guest through the frontline employee, then you've got it pretty well nailed. But that's going to take a little bit of time, and I don't think we're going to save a lot of money as an industry by decreasing the amount of developers that are available. You still need to go ahead and make sure that what you're developing at the end of the day, even though if agents are developing it for you, it's got to be fairly closely looked at. So
we have had that.
Quite at that point yet.
No, we've had that conversation internally too, because I mean, we have two very amazing developers, and our head developer has said it doesn't, even if we use something to help, if you don't have someone that's knowledgeable and that's what they know, you're still, there's no chance that that's gonna, be a long-term solution. So all 100%. Super good thoughts. And we've had a couple really good comments. So Mike just said, well said, Alan, tech does need to take a back seat. And then Curtis Crimmins said tech should take a back seat. Yeah, so this was popular. He just says hospitality tech should be 1, an enablement to make humans more engaged and available, and 2, invisible, which I like that point. Invisible is a good point. Any thoughts on those?
Well, I think the allure of technology has kind of gone away, right? I remember, so how I got into technology was with Four Seasons, and we were implementing systems, and I got really interested in the data and how we could extrapolate the data out of the systems. But back in those days, it didn't matter, right? As long as you had a computer on your desk, you were taking on the world. And so what we did is we created an environment of computers, and now we need to create an environment of people. And so by enabling tech to be invisible from the frontline employee to the guests, I think you've kind of created the perfect world. It doesn't mean the tech needs to be invisible everywhere, but it certainly needs to be invisible in those high touch environments. I also believe that there will be this weird and wacky, and I've been saying this for years, but I don't think too many people believe me, but I do believe that there'll be a new kind of group of hotels that will be seen as autonomous only. So travelers are more than happy to go stay at an Airbnb where they get a code, they walk in and they have a house to themselves, and then they leave. So it's not dissimilar to, or it's not out of the realm of thinking that going to a 100-key room somewhere, it's completely autonomous other than security and housekeeping, right? And so I think there will be that type of environment that will come up fairly quickly, and it'll satisfy a certain type of traveler that just wants to get in, wants to get out, doesn't want to talk to anybody. And there are people like that. I am a high maintenance traveler, always have been. I like to be taken care of when I travel. So, and it doesn't matter whether I'm staying at a Marriott or whether I'm staying at a Four Seasons, I still expect the same. So, if we can enable people to go ahead and do their jobs and actually get them to love their jobs, then I think we've done it. And so by enhancing their capability to deliver service, which ultimately reflects on them personally, I
Right.
think that will go ahead and drive the industry forward. And all the techno stuff in the background just should be
Mm.
that fuel. It shouldn't be
Yeah.
anything more than that.
I think you're spot on. I don't doubt that at all. And I've been a huge fan of like the Airbnb story just as a founder, and what they did and how they started. And I mean, obviously they started like just a mattress, in someone's apartment,
Yeah.
but just their vision of outsourcing your home or whatever it is. And now people, of course, create whole businesses around having Airbnbs, but people thought, well, no one would ever do that. Nobody would ever, go sleep at someone's house. And now all of a sudden look at Airbnb. And so I don't think that's too far off that we'll have travelers that want that experience just in the hotel
Well,
environment.
and there's been a few companies that tried it. Sonder tried it. It
Yeah.
didn't do very well, but once again, I don't think the premise was properly set. It's all about
Yeah.
messaging and what you're going to deliver, right?
Mm-hmm.
If people fully understand that they might get a great room, but they're literally getting no service. That
Yeah.
has to be articulated during the buy process, and also during the marketing and advertising process. I think what
Yes.
happens is companies are trying to tiptoe along that line of trying to be one or the other. And I think if somebody is going to do it, they really need to lean
Yeah.
into it and do it really well. So
Go all out. Don't confuse. Don't let the
exactly.
message be confusing.
Yeah. Don't confuse. Just say we
Yeah.
have the greatest rooms in the world, and that's all we have, right?
Yeah.
And do it well. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but we're lucky enough at Infor. We're really lucky enough to have our clients are what I would deem are probably not all of them, but a good bulk of them are upper upscale luxury and ultra luxury. So
Yeah.
we're always really trying to put our best foot forward as it relates to
Yeah.
trying to extricate the technology out of the ecosystem and deliver on the service side. And
Yeah.
with the agentic world, it's now within grasp,
Yeah.
but it's within grasp for all of us. I
Mhm,
keep on
mhm.
saying we're all going to land in the same place at the same time as
Yeah.
technology providers, and I don't think that's ever been more true than right now.
Yeah, you're spot on. It's a very interesting time to be in hospitality tech and in technology in general. So, my
Yes.
last question for you, Alan, and I never put this in the pre-show notes just because we always like it to be organic. But as far as this topic, have you had an aha moment? Maybe it was your walk with your wife on the lake, but have you had an aha moment of like, this experience is really declining and we really need to work on this? Or has it just been kind of built over time and over your experiences?
Well, I think so. It's going to sound awful. Well, it's not a customer of ours, so I can go ahead and do it.
You can say it.
I have been trying to get only two things done with this one hotel brand for 20 years. And it's been, I want to stay on a high floor and I want to be away from an elevator. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that goes into a notes field in their property management system and nobody looks at it. So the person that's allocating rooms doesn't care and they throw me somewhere and I complain. It got to a point where we had a sales kickoff meeting at one of these properties a year ago and they couldn't have got it worse for me. Literally, it was on the bottom floor, right beside
and by an elevator.
So not only did I have traffic going by the room all day long, I actually had the elevators there as well. So that was kind of a year ago, and I went, "This is nuts." And what really cemented it was the people at the front desk. When I went to go complain, and I'll complain, even though I'm a technology provider to hotels, they'll complain to me every time they have if we're messing up. So if I'm staying at a hotel property, I have the same rights. So I went and I complained and nobody gave a crap. Nobody at the front desk cared.
Wow.
And you could tell that they were just beaten down. They were it was hard for them. I don't think it was their fault. I think they just had gotten to a point. So that was kind of a pivotal moment for me trying to figure all this out.
Right.
And as I've said earlier, I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by great people that we struggle with these type of challenges and try to help people extricate themselves out of the technology doldrums and really kind of focus on what they need, which is to be happy when they go to work and happy when they leave. Now, no job is like that every day.
True.
But if you get a higher percentage of good days than
Yeah.
bad days, then you're doing the right thing. So.
Yep, that is absolutely right. And culture and all that. We could do a whole other talk on that because I
Oh my
think that's
goodness,
so
yeah.
important. But
For
Alan,
sure.
this is it's such a joy to hear your thoughts. And I'm super excited to have this on our YouTube channel and for people to go back and watch and really dive into this topic. I think it's an important one. We don't want to tiptoe around it just because we're technology providers. Like we want to talk about it. So I appreciate
Yeah.
your candid thoughts and couple things. And if you guys hear the thunder, Texas thunderstorm is coming my way.
Ah,
But so if you're watching this live or watching back later, just keep in mind you can contact Infor through Affixify. So you guys are listed in multiple
yep.
categories. So if anything sparks your interest, log into Affixify, we'll get you connected. But Alan, on the more personal side, how can our guests follow you, contact you if they just are like, I really want to talk to him about this or learn more?
So infor.com/hospitality. That's where we're at. And I'm on LinkedIn all the time.
Yes.
So just look for
Yeah.
Alan Young and Infor and you'll find me. So
I love
happy
your
to chat with anybody about anything. It's
Yeah.
always, I'm constantly learning. So that is a good thing.
You are the best. Well, Alan, thank you for joining us. And actually, we will be back tomorrow. So we have a double episode this week. So I'm excited for another episode. And then next week, we will be back again on Wednesday with Amy Infante. She is of Get Go Group and Gain Advisors. And she'll be talking with us about commercial strategy. So thank you, Alan, so much for being our guest. Thank you for those that join live and those that are watching later. Again, you can contact Infor on Affixify or visit their website, and we will see you guys back here tomorrow. Thank you so much, Alan.
Thanks, Jasmine. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye, guys.
Cheers.